ABC News with Glenn Lauder. The Prime Minister Scott Morrison has announced a royal commission into veteran suicides. The federal government had been resisting calls for a royal commission, instead preferring the option of establishing a permanent national commissioner. But speaking in Canberra, Scott Morrison says that all sides of politics want to do what's required for veterans for them to readjust to civilian life. He says the government wants the Royal Commission to be comprehensive and that it will cover past deaths. The domestic tourism industry has welcomed the start of the Trans-Tasman travel bubble as another step on the path to normality. As of today, travellers from Australia can fly to New Zealand without spending time in quarantine, as travellers from New Zealand have been able to do so when coming here since last October. The Tourism and Transport Forum's Margie Osmond has urged both countries to have faith in the other's ability to control the spread of COVID so they can gain confidence in setting up bubbles with other parts of the world.
The trick for both governments is going to be how they manage the risk and not treat everything like an emergency. That's going to be the trick over the next couple of months as the bubble gets some maturity, and hopefully we see some other travel routes opening up.
The ACT's Chief Minister Andrew Barr says his territory is well placed to monitor a home quarantine program for travellers returning from overseas. The Prime Minister is seeking support from the states and territories for a bolstered home quarantine system to allow vaccinated Australians to travel abroad and return home in the second half of the year. Mr Barr says because of the small number of Canberrans still overseas, authorities in the capital could cope.
We would be better placed than most other jurisdictions, but clearly we can't home quarantine West Australians or Queenslanders or Tasmanians or people from Victoria or New South Wales, except for the immediate Canberra region.
Switzerland will begin relaxing pandemic restrictions today despite rising case numbers. The government admits it's a calculated risk, but justified, as cases are rising very slowly, the vaccine rollout speeding up and hospitals are coping. Opinion is divided, with some businesses closed for months welcoming the news, but health services concerned for unvaccinated citizens. Victorian health authorities are stressing the importance of hand washing as an outbreak of viral gastroenteritis spreads through childhood centres. There have been 389 outbreaks in childcare so far this year. That's 4 times higher than the average. Victoria's Executive Director for Communicable Diseases, Dr Bruce Bolam, says people who become unwell should stay at home for at least 48 hours after their symptoms stop.
Hand washing with soap and water is the critical way of stopping the spread of norovirus. But sadly, in households, in the childhood settings as well, it is very easy to catch. And that's why we see such a large number of outbreaks, unfortunately, at the moment.
A corruption inquiry in New South Wales has heard a local councillor decline to vote on a property matter involving the state MP John Sidoti because it involved a conflict of interest. Here's court reporter Jamelle Wells.
The ICAC is investigating if John Sidoti, who stood aside from the Liberal Party, used his position to corruptly influence Liberal councillors between 2011 and 2018. It's alleged he engaged town planners to lobby council to rezone blocks around Five Dock, where his family owned property, despite independent experts finding it was not in the public interest. Canada Bay councillor Stephanie de Pasqua told the inquiry she could see a conflict of interest in one project, so did not vote on it. Mr Sidoti, who denies any wrongdoing, is due to front the inquiry this week.
US authorities say they've arrested a suspect over a shooting at a busy pub in the state of Wisconsin. 3 people have been killed, another 3 injured, and it comes as another 3 people were shot dead in a separate shooting in Texas. The Austin Police Chief, Joseph Cachon, says the suspect is armed and dangerous.
He is tentatively identified as Stephen Nicholas Broderick. He's a black male, 41 years of age. He's described as being 5'7", with an average build. What we're asking from the residents in this area is continue to shelter in place.
And 5 people have been shot and critically injured in Louisiana. It's the 3rd mass shooting in the States in 24 hours. And the leader of the nationalist Sinn Féin party in Ireland has given an unprecedented apology for the IRA's 1979 assassination of Lord Mountbatten, a close relative of the British royal family. Mary Lou MacDonald has described his murder alongside 2 family members and a Northern Ireland teenager as heartbreaking. Her longtime predecessor, Gerry Adams, never apologised, saying at the time Lord Mountbatten was a legitimate target. ABC News.
You're listening to ABC News Radio.